All right, here we go, Karen, 6 o'clock.
And I notice we don't have Ted, so I assume there was no financial, before you call the meeting to order, there
Yeah,
was there was no financial activity.
no activity. And then his email says no expenses. And we gave a current checking balance of 578.54. Um, so yeah, that's what he just emailed. And who am I with?
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Let me see. Okay, cool. Okay, and then I think is Jim here from the county? Oh, there's Harry. Okay, he's coming. Okay, well, whatever. People show up when they show up. So calling the meeting to order. So we don't, that was Ted's treasurer's report. So if we want to move to approve the consent agenda, the meeting agenda and the minutes, would anybody want to make a motion to go ahead and do that?
I can't.
Anyone? Just keep
Somebody, please.
going.
I'll move.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We have a second.
Oh, come on, I can't die for lack of a
I'll
second.
second it.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Jeff. All right. Any negatives? I'm like, oh my God, if this is a sign of how things are going to go tonight. All right. Any negatives? I'll look for opposition. Okay, cool. Okay, awesome. Law enforcement. Did I see Commander Abbas here? Am I correct in that?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Yay. Thanks for being here. I know you guys have been busy.
Of course, not a problem. Looking at our call numbers for the last month, give me just a sec. We had a total of 264 calls, down from 284 the prior year, the month of January. Of note, we had 40 enforcement stops and 33 preventative patrol activities. So yes, our deputies have been out there and trying to make the community a safer place. So that's what I have, unless anybody else has anything for me.
If I could just keep you here for a couple of minutes, is there anything that you want to highlight in terms of like the graffiti progress, not progress, uptick, or is that seem to be slowing?
So I haven't come across any additional reports of graffiti. Again, they kind of come and go in waves, but nothing else specifically to report.
Okay, cool. All right. And then anything else that we should be keep our eyes and ears peeled on?
So it impacts Cayucas a little more, but I know Fourth of July gets busy for the North Coast area. So just letting you all know that we are beginning. We're still in the early phases of looking at what our Fourth of July deployment is going to look like. Again, the biggest influx does end up happening in Cayucas, but I know the North Coast, Cambria, and San Simeon do experience population increases for the 4th of July. So we'll be working to make sure that everybody's able to have as fun a time as they like, being as safe as possible as well.
Okay, awesome. And then were you guys surprised? It sounds like from what you said, the numbers were down year over year for this past month. And that was with Highway 1 open? Was that
So,
surprising? Or
so yeah, Highway 1 did reopen about 3 weeks ago or about a month ago. In speaking to the deputies about the that reopening, they have noticed additional vehicle traffic and pedestrian traffic, but not necessarily a call for service increase. So we'll see what it looks like as we move into the summer, month over month, if that calls for service numbers do increase. But again, that population increase is been noted fairly recently, and I don't know that would have necessarily totally reflected in the January calls.
okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for making the time to be here.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, we'll talk soon.
Okay, bye.
All right, and then we have Commander Januso's CHP report is attached to the agenda and on the website for anybody that wants to check that out. He has two other advisory councils to hit tonight. And then that'll bring us to Berkey. Dear Chief Berkey, do you want to go ahead?
Excellent. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So, the fire chief's report for the month of January, we had a total of 108 incidents, which is up from January of 2025 by 18 calls. We had a total of 90 in January 2025. We had 15 false alarms this month, 30 public assists, 3 hazardous conditions, 60 medical emergencies, and no fires. So I wanted to touch base really quick on something that the ambulance had brought up to my attention, that they're starting to see an uptick in dual calls, what they call dual calls, when both ambulances are out at the same exact time. So this last year, they reported about over 138 instances where both ambulances were responding to calls at the same time. So what that means is that SLOS, the San Luis Ambulance Service, has to respond in our area. And recently, we've been waiting 45 minutes or longer for a SLOS response to be in our area. So I just wanted to highlight that a little bit. That doesn't include the times where the ambulances are also brought down into the other areas. So our our ambulances in this area are also part of a larger system, meaning that if the other areas are busy, Morro Bay or San Luis, our ambulances will go down into those areas to kind of cover. And so those dual calls, that's not included in how many times they went down to do that to cover. So when they do that and they go down into Morro Bay or down into Villa Creek is a common area, they have to respond to that, which means they're delayed to our calls up here as well. So again, just wanted to highlight that. That was brought to my attention by the operations director at the ambulance. So I felt like it was pertinent to bring up and kind of as a discussion point here. So, but continuing my report, we have, as I mentioned earlier, we're up from last year's January 2025 total. We had 90 last year. We served 75 residents, 22 non-residents. The year to date, pretty self-explanatory since we're only a month in. We had 108 this year and then 90 from last year. So the training that our crews focused on this month was really around structure fires. It was just command and control, meaning that, not only just the tactics that they're going to use, but how that interacts with the other responding agencies. They also talked about and trained on engineer training, which is all about pumping the fire and the different engineer roles that they play on all the different types of incidents that they're going to be responding to. And then, of course, being January, every year, the EMSA pumps out new protocols for our paramedics and EMTs. And so they spend a lot of time reviewing and kind of and honing in on those what those new protocols look like and what that means for our response. Moving down the report, I have the public education interaction. So we also have a unique opportunity to train with our surrounding agencies, and one of those being Coast Guard. So I don't know if it's a known thing, but our Coast Guard response comes from Ventura now. And so we are at the very, very tip of their response area. And so our crews actually went down and touched base with them in Ventura to kind of meet the guys and kind of tell them, hey, what we have as far as our capabilities as far with the fire department and the North Coast. And they were very thankful and because they really Coast Guard had no idea what they were getting into when they would respond up to our area. They don't typically get briefings on that. They just kind of show up and then kind of deal with what they have. And so they were very thankful that our crews went down there, made contact with them, let them know what we have in our county and specifically the North Coast. And so that was earlier last month. And then just yesterday, Coast Guard actually came up to our area, landed at San Luis Airport, picked up a couple of our Cambria firefighters and flew them around the upper area of San Simeon and kind of the lower Big Sur area to kind of have our personnel guide them as far as where we would be launching and what they can expect when they come to this area. They don't come up here very often, but when they do, this training is imperative that we know what we're getting into and what they are getting into. So it was a really great collaboration, and I'm really proud of our guys for doing that. So moving on, we had the beginning, our liaison kickoff meeting. So I'm really excited again about moving forward with our liaison program. We're having an event April 18th. We're still kind of finalizing the final structure of that event, but you guys should be hearing something about that very, very soon. What that entire day looks like. It's going to be another emergency preparedness topics, along with some CPR training, and it's most of the focus is going to be on your go bags and what that looks like, and how to prepare that, what should be in them, and it's going to be a great day. Again, we're finalizing the structure for that. Also, on that same topic, we're having an open house at the fire department on May 9th. More to come on that. Again, you're going to see some advertising with that. We're still working on the finalization of all of that. That's where we're going to have the open house for the fire department, but also going to have the uh, uh, entities from around the county, their OES, county OES, state parks, sheriff, we'll have those entities there to answer any questions that you might have, much like we did at last year's emergency preparedness meetings. To finish up my report, so for under the topic of public service, our crews did 8 smoke detector changes, 2 defensible space residential inspections, and 3 business inspections. So that concludes my report for January. I'm open to any questions or comments.
Would you mind, I don't know if my brain's moving slow or if there's more that you could add on the ambulance, like I won't call it like a shortage, but from my understanding, like they go and
Yeah.
then once you go, you're kind of like stuck in the system of wherever you've gone. Is that a thing or am I?
No, that's correct. Like the one thing we have to recognize about Cambria is we kind of look at ourselves as like a geographical bookend of the county of the North Coast. We're more or less an island up in our area. So when those ambulances, the 2 ambulances that we do have, which we're very, very fortunate to have, once they leave, they're reporting, again, this isn't something I mentioned earlier, but they're reporting wait times sometimes up to 2 to 3 hours offloading their patients at the hospital. And so that's significant. It's not, other systems have a lot longer wait times, so we're very fortunate in our area. But so when those ambulances end up being into that system, Cambria is more or less, left uncovered or left delayed covered. So that makes a significant difference when we're talking about initial patient care, especially when we're talking about paramedics on the fire engines, and our response capabilities in our area. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, yes, for the most part. And then is that something, well, you were noting it because it's increasing. So like, is that just something that happens at this time of year, or is that this is just unusual? And then if it continues, it's something we have to address, like, okay.
Yes, correct. So it was just brought to my attention by the operations director. So every month I reach out to him to get some information from, just the call volume and, the patient reports. And so we have a pretty good working relationship and in conversations every month prior to my chief's report. And so that was something that he just noted. And so I felt like it was something that we needed to kind of discuss and just keep an eye on. Sometimes these things fluctuate. Sometimes they'll drop next month. Who knows? It's really dependent. And when we're talking about emergencies and especially medical emergencies, we are seeing a steady increase. I wouldn't say a significant increase, but we are seeing a steady increase, and that's where it's important to remember that our ambulances aren't just here serving the Cambria district like our fire department is. They are serving the entire county, and their initial response area is much larger than Cambria Fire's or the CCSD's district, which is what the fire department serves primarily. So the ambulances, their initial response area goes all the way up to Big Sur County line and all the way down to like the southern, like Via Creek area. And that's just their initial response area. So they're serving that entire spot. So yeah, they can get pulled out pretty rapidly. And so those again, it's just food for thought. It's just something for people to think about and solution wise. Yeah, I don't know. We have to look at kind of just keep looking at our matrix and our response matrix and our standards of coverage and see where we need to be in order to hopefully cut down a little bit of that response time for our fire engines.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Yeah, and thank you for being here. That's it? Am I missing any hands for?
Yeah, just a quick question. Um, Mike, do they have an equivalent of your automatic aid or mutual aid agreements that you have for fire, or is it all informal?
As far as what their response to the rest of the county looks like.
Yeah, because I mean, it seems like there should be some kind of formalizing of those arrangements that otherwise you wind up with Cambria's health district basically subsidizing the rest of the county and leaving Cambria short when Cambria is the ones paying the lion's share of the costs to have that service.
Yeah, agreed. And I believe so they are when they entered into the however long back, and I'll get some more information on that. I don't know specifics as far as what their contract says, but I know just as a provider, yeah, they're kind of they're subject to the same kind of um clause that the rest of the county is as far as it moving up and covering the other areas if need be. But that was a big topic earlier or at the end of last year. We had at the County Board of Supervisors meeting, there was a great discussion on how San Luis ambulances, their response and their delays and their oversight. And so there was a lot of discussion, and I would encourage anybody that is interested to watch that meeting. This was, I think it was in October. But I spoke at that meeting about that exact thing, saying that their response times, although they don't, you know, directly affect us, if they're not providing additional ambulances because of cost or whatever, that does affect us because now we're covering them on their shortcomings. And so everything results in us moving down there at some point. So to answer your question about what that contract looks like with the healthcare district and the county, I don't know off the top of my head. I would imagine there's something in place much like our auto aid and mutual aid agreements, but I don't know what that looks like. But I can definitely get you that answer for sure.
Yeah, are yours all written agreements for fire?
Yeah, so we we have a auto aid agreement just between ourselves and the surrounding fire department, which is CAL FIRE. So we
Right.
just finalized that just now, but within the county and the mutual aid system, that's a countywide agreed upon, mutual aid contract with the rest of the county. So so yes, we do have both of those. I'm still working on, we just finalized the one with CAL FIRE. I'm still working on finalizing with Chief McCrane out of Morro Bay with Morro Bay's response to us because they have in the past provided us with a truck, which is a ladder. It's mostly the response is typically for commercial structures, and so we're still working on finalizing that with Morro Bay. But as far as CAL FIRE, our auto aid agreement is in writing, it's in place, and it's been relayed to our emergency command center.
Thanks.
Thank you. It looks like Matthew has his hand up. The only thing I would note, and it's Mike, right? And it could just be what I go to the grave with, is that my understanding is that CAL FIRE is actually who's responsible as a primary source for defensible space.
Uh,
Is that, like, I guess sometimes because I see him driving around and that little, the investigator, and I don't know if going into this fire season, it's something that we take up in terms of pressuring kindly, CAL FIRE to be doing that more uh, effectively, and more specifically as it relates to from the roadway to somebody's property, right? Like we were talking about in Pine Knolls. So, I mean, we don't have to go into it tonight, but I would just ask everybody to kind of put their thinking caps on for that.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up because that does get a little tricky since we are a community services district. We have taken on certain aspects of the fire, kind of responsibility as far as emergency response. Um, However, this is still it's known as still a state response, primarily a state response area, and that's where CAL FIRE comes in. So there is a difference between county is contracted with CAL FIRE, and again, that we don't have to get into this craziness here, but CAL FIRE is contracted with county fire, so that's different than the state responsibility. Again, that's a long conversation, but it's just know that there's different levels there of responsibility. We as the fire department and the CCSD have taken on a little bit of that responsibility, and that's why we're anxious to work closely with CAL FIRE to try and them to help us and we're to help them and whatever our capabilities are. But yeah, we'll be in that conversation with them just to reevaluate what their capabilities are moving forward.
Okay, cool. And sorry, Matthew, I know you had your hand up. You want to go ahead? Or you're waiting, right? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to touch base on what Jeff was asking the chief in regards to the ambulance service. We have the healthcare district has had exclusive operating rights in Cambria for decades. And then San Luis Ambulance has had exclusive operating rights in the other areas throughout the county. So when we talk about the EMS system, they're broken down into areas. So area 1 is us. That's why we call our ambulances Medic 11, Medic 12. Area 2 is Paso Robles. Area 3 is Morro Bay. Area 4 is Atascadero. Area 5 is San Luis. And Area 6 is Rio Grande. Area 7 is Napomo. So in a system like that, the system will move ambulances wherever the system needs to move it based on need. There has been what I would consider some imbalance in terms of our ambulances being dedicated to Area 1 and getting sucked into the system. And then there has been some imbalance in terms of, let's say, San Luis Ambulance's ability to come into our area when we've had multiple calls. The system is built to where the ambulances, even if we get down to 2 ambulances in the county, those ambulances, wherever they are going to get moved into a geographical area that can respond to the whole county. So in other areas of the state, AMR has different levels, and they will move their ambulances throughout the county wherever they need them. And they call it level 1, level 2, or level 0, meaning there is 1 ambulance for the entire county, 2 ambulances for the entire county, or no ambulances for the entire county. And so to sum it up, the county dispatch who runs MedCom, who runs the EMS system, is going to pull whatever ambulance they need to from whatever jurisdiction. And that's kind of our obligation in Cambria is if we're one of the only ambulances available, they're going to pull us in. Just like San Luis Ambulance will be pulled into our area. So it's a juggling issue. And like the chief said, there's been some issues at the county level in terms of San Luis Ambulance's ability to respond to their own areas, whereas we do pretty well. Yeah, we've had some higher incidences of both those ambulances being busy, but there's been an issue on the other side. And so they're working through that to see if they can put more ambulances on the streets. But just to be clear, from a public health and safety standpoint, the county is going to pull whatever ambulance they can to serve that emergency. And so paramedics and EMTs, that's what we do. But it does affect us in Cambria. So as far as our agreements with the county, our agreement is we cover Area 1, and if needed, they're going to pull us in the system, just like they pull San Luis Ambulance. but that imbalance does exist, and I think the chief spoke to it well. So I just wanted to kind of clarify how our EMS system works. Even though I would say our ratepayers, our taxpayers that pay for that healthcare district are paying for our ambulances to be in our area. There's a broader community need, and what we're trying to do is have San Luis Ambulance be a little more responsible for their part in this, so we don't get pulled in unnecessarily. That's all I got to say. Thanks.
Is anybody actively tracking those imbalances as you describe them?
Yeah. Cambria, the Cambria Healthcare District does a good job of tracking that, and the county is now tracking that. I think a bit better, and I'll let the chief speak to it. But I think that's why we're starting to see a potentially competitive bid come out for San Luis Ambulance and other competitor systems, because they've been grandfathered in since 1965, meaning they have had no competitive bids for ambulance service in this county since then. And so they've had these exclusive operating rights for years, which has given them some autonomy to run the system how they see fit, as long as they meet contractual needs. And now that day has come where the Fire Chiefs Association has finally said, we need to look if there's better systems out there, much like the district does for services that we put out RFPs for. But it's been a weird anomaly where I think San Luis Ambulance might be one of the only ambulance providers in the state that has locked up a geographical area and not had to competitively bid for services for, what is it now, 8 decades?
Yeah, I think it's significant, and this was addressed at like I mentioned earlier, at the County Board of Supervisors meeting a couple months back, and it's significant because there hasn't been accurate or adequate oversight, and that's what they're really trying to push for, is looking for oversight for these things. And so, to answer your question, Jeff, they are monitoring it very closely. And they've been monitoring it for a while, and they've noticed a discrepancy, and that's where this whole conversation comes up, because the Cambria citizens are paying for their ambulances to be here for them. They're not paying for them to respond primarily to other areas. And so I think that's kind of the bigger issue, is where we want to make sure that they are available to the taxpayers that are paying for them. And so when we talk about discrepancies, that's what it's all about. We're trying to keep our ambulances in the system, or in our area, and not having them respond unnecessarily to other areas. Obviously we're here to provide for the entire county as a whole. That's what we do as emergency providers. It's much like our fire engine going down to the Palisades. We provide that as mutual aid, as you mentioned earlier. So I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir here, but we have to be a part of a larger system, but we are trying to maintain those ambulances primarily in our district. And again, this when they are out of the area, that's where our fire department, having the paramedics on the fire engine, it makes a great deal of difference. So hope
Sure.
that answered your question.
Can I,
Yeah, go ahead.
can I ask a question? Hi, Michael. I know that we had a situation that arose that San Luis Ambulance ended up transporting my husband back up to Stanford. So they have ambulances probably set aside for UCLA and where UC San Francisco, that they do transport patients that are not regularly, used for other things. So I just wanted to express that they do transport to other areas.
That's a good point. And actually, they don't have many ambulances set aside. They actually take active units off the street and will transport those patients to Stanford, which causes Cambria Ambulance to be sucked into the system, because they're taking 911 units off the street to transport those long distance transfers. And that's some of the discussion that's being had at the county level, is that as a private corporation, they're looking for that payment, right? They're a for-profit agency, so they will take active 911 units off the street for that transport, whether it's immediate need or not. And so
I know, Matthew, that they accepted Medicare.
Yeah, it's not about Medicare or anything else. They're going to take those patients and pull a 911 ambulance off the street. So
Absolutely.
I think what the county's trying to do is take a look at a system in which you can still have those transports, but also sustain 911 ambulances and not have to pull in.
Right. And when I was up there with him, that I did see ambulances transporting patients back to San Luis Obispo County.
Yep.
So it's something that it's being done quite often, evidently.
Yeah,
So-
we're well.
Okay,
Bye.
Mike, thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right. I think if nobody has anything else, do I see any other hands for Berkey? Thank you for being with us tonight. I don't know if you want to stick around or get back to your life. I'm going to
Yes,
move on to, oh, no, what do you have to say? Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I am going to sign off. So thank you so much
Okay,
for having me.
thank you.
guys have a great night.
Bye. Okay, let's see. So time for public comment. I see Katie here, and I know that you are most likely going to comment about Ramsey. And I have some text from Jim. So do you want to go ahead, Jim, D'Antona, Bruce? So Bruce Gibson was doing Diablo today, and then Jim was going to be here, and Jim's not going to be here. So he sent me a bunch of stuff on text. But Katie, do you want to do your public comment? I'll read about Claudia's couple of events, and then I'll tell you what Jim had to say about Ramsey.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm here as a regular course of business. As you guys have noticed, I show up every month looking for an update from the county supervisors and code enforcement regarding the situation in the Wilton Circle neighborhood at Ramsey and Newton. And this past month, Christina and I have been back and forth with a few emails with Jim D'Antona, who has expressed his desire to be helpful, and that's wonderful, but also expressed that, that there were things that were, taking time and that they were thinking about giving the property owners more time to come into compliance for trash and things like that, which really does not actually address structural issues and safety issues. So that was kind of a concern there. Last communication we had with Jim was that he was going to follow up with code enforcement regarding the lack of permit for the unpermitted pool, since it does provide, it's a public safety danger, and that he was going to follow up with county council on steps for legal action for nuisance issues. And also he expressed that he understood the neighborhood's frustration and that they were going to continue to do whatever they could. So that was a couple of weeks ago, and I was looking for some follow-up on those particular issues, and in general, some follow-up to find out, if we're going to get this situation a good old kick in the pants, need to move the ball down the field. I've been here for, I think, 9 months, every month asking for progress reports, and it's been multiple decades that this neighborhood's been looking for some action. So I'm just going to be here every month until I hear we've got some progress.
All right, thank you, Katie. And then you're going to be here every month.
Yeah, you folks are going to get sick of me,
Crazy.
or the county will. Jim certainly will.
All right, Harry, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, Katie, thanks for endeavoring to continue to stay on top of this. I just wanted to ask you, you said something about at one point somebody is trying to be more cooperative. Are you talking about the property owner or the?
No, I'm talking about Jim D'Antona, who is
Mention somebody else's name. Very briefly.
no, I did not. Jim D'Antona is who I've been in communication with. He is the gentleman that is taking the place of Blake Fixler and will likely be running for Bruce's position in
I didn't hear
next
that.
month.
Okay, you did mention somebody else's name, but never mind.
Okay.
Was that it, Harry?
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. All right, we'll hear from you later. Let me see, do I have any other hands? Okay, so I'm going to do public comment really quick for Claudia at Beautify Cambria because she is in a beekeepers meeting. So, so there's that. So, she's having, oh, Beautify Cambria is having a Goodwill Drive fundraiser. That is on March 28th. The address is, let's see, well, no, I think she's giving me the wrong address. So I'll attach the flyer for the Goodwill fundraiser when I send out the video of this meeting. So that's March 28th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Also, Beautify Cambria is having their Bee, Butterfly, and Bat Street Fair on Saturday, June 27th. That's on Burton, which means that they did get that approval from the county to do a street fair. So that'll be really cool. They're going to have booths going down the street, plants and dancers and people performing, food, music, demonstrators, solar telescopes. Okay. Adding more vendors, lavender, olive oil, yada, yada. And then, oh, she's having a Dark Skies talk at the Los Osos Library tomorrow night from 5 to 6:30, 2075 Palisades across from the community center. Okay. Hopefully I kept that under 3 minutes. And let's see, is that? No other hands up for public comment. Okay, then I will jump to put on Bruce Gibson and Jim Dantona's hat with a text update. Okay, Katie, you're still here. There you are. Okay, regarding the Ramsey and Newton property that Katie has been asking about, code enforcement is going, hold on, this is a text message. Okay, they're looking into the pool as a public hazard, which we requested. Okay, they're engaging with county council and the attorney's office due to the amount of violations that this property has acquired over the years. It's a tool that might be available depending on their response and to code enforcement's upcoming actions. So, I mean, we'll see. We can we can do a follow-up. And then, okay, Jeff Bloom, Rule 20A funds and the undergrounding of electric transmission wires.
Yes.
The state is bringing these to an end, but the county has some funds there for use in the county. County staff is looking into whether or not it would be transferable to a project like this. I wonder what project he's thinking of. It didn't seem out of the question. It might be possible, but we need to check on some things. They're working and we'll have some answers by the next meeting. Oh, I wonder, because I coupled that in an email about parks. So just give me like a week and I'll get something back to you. But that's all we got. That's all she wrote.
Okay, well, that really is just recapping the email that he sent to you and I. There's no new information in what you just read to us.
Let me see.
It's still the same nothing burger.
It's a bit of a nothing burger.
Yep.
And we'll follow up.
Okay. Good to know.
Don't shoot the messenger.
I'm not. I'm just gonna call a nothing burger when I hear it.
Thank you, Katie. All right, Lisa Murphy, your hands up. Oh, you're muted.
Just wondering if the undergrounding power, when we were talking about the emergency, the restructuring of the ambulance bays and stuff like that, we talked about underground power related to that. So wondering if that's what he was responding to.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, that's good. I'll ask. And then I'll ask him and I'll do a clarification when I send out the video. So let me just write that down.
Cool.
And then let's see. And then Deborah, well, I don't see any other hands for me pretending to be a county official. So Deborah, if you want to go ahead with fire safe.
Hi, okay. At our last meeting, we're still working on the evacuation brochure. They have to complete it by March or they'll lose the grant. It's almost there. It's really great. It's replacing the one they had, I don't know, years ago. Chief Berkey didn't talk about this, but apparently the fire chiefs have adopted in entirety the California Fire Code and the International Wildfire Code. Grants update. Pico Creek is back in operation. Can't work on it if it's raining. Work on Fiscalini Ranch begins in spring 2026. This is fire mitigation, folks, as well as work planned for the fish and game property, which is adjacent to the Cavell Ranch property. We're seeking approval to resume work on French Broom, the plant, using a very stable herbicide application product. And new public grants reopen in February, and interested parties can access firesafecouncil.org for more information. Our main focus is on grants, which means decisions will be made locally for these grants. We're back working on the CCSD vacant lots in 2026 to clear those, and Caltrans is giving encroachment permit south of Santa Rosa Creek, and they'll help with the project and traffic control. They're gonna be working, Spencer Gordon's that group is gonna be working in Fiscalini and Pico Creek this summer. They're implementing work under the fire prevention grant on local private properties in Cambria during the summer months. And the RCD has submitted an application under the Forest Health Grant. Rancho Marina still has 100 piles that need burning. Recently, they burned 20 piles, which you all smell that smoke. Work resumes in Strawberry Canyon this summer, 2026. And they're working on a grazing plan for the next 3 years, and it has to be get passed by the Coastal Commission. And grazing will be used for removal of the understory. And we have 50 to 80 piles left to burn in Strawberry Canyon. We're going to be having a chipping event March the 10th. So get everybody to sign up on firesafeslow.org. And I think we're going to have another one. Maybe it's in June. Keep you posted. I don't know we're going to be participating in the 501 fair, which is coming up April 11th. I don't know if you guys attended last year. It was pretty good. We are, FSC has a scholarship funding available for individuals that are studying in SLO County for wildfire and forestry and related study programs. We have $200,000 budget this year for scholarships. Hold on a second. And that's it. Any questions?
Let me see. I love how matter of fact Deborah is.
I was reading from
You're
before.
amazing.
Matter of fact.
I appreciate you so much. Okay, I don't see any hands, but I love your report and I love it. Oh, okay. Let's see. Teresa's iPad. Go ahead.
She's muted.
Yep, you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, this is for Deborah. Where would I be able to see the type of herbicides that are going to be used and specifically what locations they will be applied?
I'm not sure. They checked them out pretty well. Wouldn't be anything that would, it's a very stable herbicide application. They're very careful about what they use. They don't want to endanger animals or anything.
I know, because I know that we've used some type of herbicide in the Fiscalini Ranch in the past, and upon walking, I have encountered dead squirrels, and I'm believing that was pretty closely after the herbicide was used, and it had to have been some kind of poisoning, or else there would not be a body.
Was that where they had little flags set up, Williams pest control, or Williams pesticide? Williams did all that work in the Fiscalini. They set up flags and they wrote down what they were using, I believe.
Yeah, so anyway, I just wanted to be, more aware what herbicides are being used and where they're being used, just because of that experience that I've had in the past.
They mark everything.
And
Okay.
Teresa, maybe that's something you and Matthew can connect on, because I know
Yeah.
I was harassing him.
Okay, I'll make a note to ask the gang next week.
Thanks.
You're welcome, Teresa.
All right, thank you, Deborah. Okay, Claire, you guys, we're gonna move on. We have a presentation from Claire. And Claire, will you give us your last name? Because I don't want to butcher it. Oh, you're still muted. Weird. Actually, you don't look muted. Can you guys hear Claire?
Nope.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
There you
Yes.
go.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Last
thank
name
you.
is Momberger.
Hamburger.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Claire. I think you presented at the advisory council gathering maybe and walked us through.
Oh, yeah, the orientation.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Claire's a pro and she's gonna give us an update on the housing element. So feel free to go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Christina, and your council. Thanks for letting me take up some time tonight. I'm here to provide an update on the county's implementation of our housing element, but also to extend an invitation to your council and any community members to attend the next related event we'll have. So on the update side, back in October of last year, the board adopted the Regional Housing Incentive Program, which is a program that's meant to incentivize housing projects that are meaningful in the county. And so that kind of means October was kind of a benchmark month where the board accomplished 4 out of the 9 housing implementation actions, a huge accomplishment, and that it concluded phase 1 of implementing our county housing element. Details of those actions are on the Housing Hub section of our county website if you want to dig into those and refresh your memory. But that concluded phase 1 back in October. And so now we're moving towards phase 2 of implementing our county's housing element. And back on November 4th of last year, the board had a quick introduction of what this next phase 2 will include. But it's really focused on placemaking. And if you're not familiar with that kind of like jargony term, that really just means providing a community and the people and residents and workers who are going to use or live in a space, the opportunity to shape that space and what happens there and how it looks, etc. And so because the county wants to ensure that future growth occurs in a way that meets the needs of current residents and future residents. The Board of Supervisors really wants to ensure that our communities in the unincorporated county are engaged and they're listened to throughout this phase 2 process. So now the invitation is that on March 10th, so in just a couple weeks, kind of crazy, we're already looking at March, there will be a study session at the Board of Supervisors hearing that day, where planning staff will present options to the board relating to community engagement scoping. And we're going to talk about like 3 subjects of placemaking. So looking at what geographical study areas in the county should be considered for this placemaking, what the level of community engagement should be for community design standards, and also looking at pathways for straightforward permitting. And so today, I don't intend to go into all the details because the study session will be robust. We'll have like at least an hour and a half where the board and public can discuss these matters. But really just want to invite you all to tune in or attend on March 10th if you can, because it's really another opportunity for your voices to be heard, the current residents of our county, to ensure that the future is shaped in the right way and in a way that reflects our community's desires and needs.
Thank you, Claire.
Yeah.
Can I ask something and this could be super layman's question, but how does something like that, when you talk about like that phase and the placemaking,
Mhm.
kind of fit in or compare, or how's it different from like a community plan, right?
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's a very good question. And I think kind of it's where I'll start is the board will kind of decide, for this new policy that we're trying to shape and get the community's opinion on. It's going to be policy that's applicable to like design standards and where housing opportunities are increased and expanded upon. And so the community plan is typically like gathering community input to see what the vision should be and kind of casting that vision. What this phase 2 placemaking policy will do is kind of apply these new initiatives of streamlining permitting and encouraging meaningful housing in our county, kind of applying that within the context of the community plans. Does that help clarify?
Yes, yeah, it does a bit.
Okay.
And then when I hear streamlining permitting, is that like as a result, is the thought like if you're very clear on these specific design standards or whatever else comes in that element, that then the permitting doesn't need to be so rigorous because certain things have already been established? Or does that mean like, is there less
Exactly.
discretionary? Okay.
Yeah, because the thought there is, our communities are going to change. That's inevitable. And then there's, state regulations the past few years are very housing happy. And so really this is trying to, say that if streamlining permitting is going to happen, how can our communities shape how that happens and have a voice? And so that's what you're touching on, Christina, like
Yeah.
what boxes will need to be checked for streamlined permitting. That's what the board will start exploring on March 10th at the study session, and then charge planning staff to go talk to the communities about and see what the communities are comfortable with.
So interesting. And then one last question before Jeff
Mhm.
Bloom jumps in. Sorry, Jeff. Is you said what geographical study areas? How is that? How do you see that, or is it determined how those will be determined?
So yeah, great question. So far, is going to present two like approaches to the board on March 10th of how that could go. Of course, they can change that and they can provide any direction they want. But the two approaches are kind of looking at like the key service area in unincorporated communities. So where there are jobs, services like grocery stores, water, wastewater, all those things, and kind of just looking in those areas and seeing where the potential for more housing is. And then the second approach is starting with that key service area, but also looking outside to some opportunity areas. So if there are ways to kind of bridge the gap between developed areas to expand on housing opportunities there.
Okay, thank you. That's
Welcome.
super helpful. Jeff Bloom, do you want to go?
Yeah, Claire, start by telling everyone, in case they don't know, what a housing element is.
That's so great. Thank you, Jeff. I love the foundationals. So every jurisdiction in the state is required to have a housing element as a part of our general plan. And the housing element is updated kind of on I can never say this word, cyclical basis. It's like a cycle, an 8-year cycle. So we're right in the middle of the 2020 to 2028 cycle of the housing element. So we'll be starting updating that in the next couple years. But the point of that housing element is really to look at what's like the status of housing in our county at the time that document's being put together, what needs are there, and what types of programs and policies could help meet whatever those needs are. Does that help? Or is that clear?
I think you're muted, Jeff.
No, I'm not muted.
Oh.
But hopefully, hopefully
Yeah.
people are understanding what that is. The county's got a general plan, and the housing is one element of it. There's also transportation and land use and a bunch of others, but it's really, and it's not focused just on affordable housing.
Right.
It's all different economic strata of housing. But then I think for our group, to me, the placemaking discussion really, over the past 20 years, the state has systematically reduced the local agencies and the county's control over housing and made it, in the name of making it easier to do affordable housing and to increase the amount. So I think when you think about, and something for everyone to think about in advance if they're going to participate, is assume that the state is going to force the issue of people accepting more housing. Then I think the placemaking becomes, how do you want to see that? If there were more housing added in Cambria, where should it go? What should it be like? Because that's really, in the end, the real question is how would you accept it if you had to take it? Because I think increasingly the state's going to take away local government's ability to refuse to build more, or to refuse higher density, or anything that looks like reducing the supply of housing and the ability of people to develop new housing. So you really have to think of it in the context of, well, what's it mean in Cambria's terms? But where would we think about putting it? What would it be like? That to me is the placemaking we need to be thinking about.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Jeff. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, and maybe a few of us can connect before that March, what is this? March 10th, you said. Yeah,
Mhm,
and maybe
March
get
10th.
at least something. And then just so we're all understanding, if somebody were to attend, would you just be going and then taking in everything you guys are presenting, and then we as a council would make some notes, or should we be prepared with anything in advance?
That's a good question. I think, you can review, we're going to have kind of the basics of what to expect at the study session on our website. Well, actually, it's on there now, of what a little more detailed what I just talked about. I will say, if you try to go on the website tonight, you might have trouble. The county has had internet issues today. I can't even access the website. But I think it would be a good idea for your council to take a look at that, kind of form some thoughts, some input that you'd want to give the board in their decision making on, there no final action is happening on March 10th. They're really just directing staff on our next steps for engaging with the communities.
Okay, cool. And Karen, you want to go ahead? You're muted.
Hi, Claire. Thank you for this. Can you give me the website address for more information, and I'll include it in the minutes?
Yes, I will need 1 second if you don't mind. Because, yeah, like I said, I don't have it memorized and I'm having trouble even accessing the website. I know you can search.
Is it the planning and building department area of the county
Yeah,
website?
it is. Yes. So on our planning and building webpage, if you scroll down, there's a housing hub button. Housing hub, like hub, the place to be.
Housing hub, HUB.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's where you'll find the housing element implementation, and then you'll find the study session information. And if you have trouble finding it, you can email Dane or me and we'll get you the direct link.
Okay,
too.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Christina.
Okay, yeah, of course. And then it might actually be linked in the agenda, Karen, too, but otherwise I'll make sure you have it. Claire, thank you for sitting through ambulance talk and all of the things. Thank you for being here.
No,
super
thank you so much.
interesting. Yeah, and the work that you guys are doing on that, it's just, yeah, really, really cool.
Thank you.
All right, so Dane, do we Well, I just want to make sure everybody's good. Oh, Harry Farmer, you want to go ahead, Harry?
Yeah, very briefly, I just want to make a comment. First, I want to thank Claire for her presentation. I know Dane is here month after month. I'm just noticing, maybe it's just me, how young they are and the cool energy that they bring to county planning. And it gives me a different view of county planning and building and revenue collecting. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I just want to throw that out
Yeah, it's refreshing.
Harry,
No,
everybody's younger than you and I.
whatever.
but still.
But it's a nice thought.
Age is just a number. All right. Thank you, Harry, for acknowledging how cool they are. Dane, so do you want to lead us into this? We have David, the applicant on this project here. Okay, so first, let me set some parameters. We're not going to go on and on forever. We're just going to get some information on this application, minor use permit, coastal development permit, and then we'll vote next month after we all meet and take in the information and have a recommendation. So I don't know if, Dane, do you want to touch on some of the questions we had, or David, if you want to talk us through your project? As some of you know, this is super cool Leopold House on Sherwood that David wants to preserve and do an addition onto. And yeah, so however you guys want to do it, go ahead.
I may give a 25-second rundown really quick. And then since we're joined by the owner here, Mr. McMahon, I think we should definitely let him give the rundown on the project. And then if anyone has comments following, that'd be great. And if the council ends up making a recommendation at the end, that'd be great too. So what we have here is what I would consider a relatively modest addition to a residence on Sherwood, which was designed by Warren Leopold. And that's a well-known architect in the area. I've been working with David Brown. The current application status is on info hold, and I'm sure Mr. McMahon knows a resubmittal is anticipated soon. So following that resubmittal, hopefully we would move forward through environmental review, which would analyze more of that historical nature of the house. So with that, I'll be open for questions later, and I look forward to hearing from Mr. McMahon.
Yeah, Dane, nice to meet you on Zoom. Yeah, I love the youth. Like you said, it feels good. So one of the questions that Christina posed, and I wasn't sure exactly how to answer, is early on, this has been like a 2-year process that since we started, is that Carrie Brown was fine for us to use the existing carport covered area as part of the original structure to determine what could, the 50% footprint or whatever. And that the numbers, at least as Christina was asking me about them, don't add up if we're looking at the carport covered area as part of the renovation as opposed to part. So I want to be sure we're right on that, because we've certainly spent a lot of time and money trying to design something that worked within that tiny, as you said, Dane, it's a tiny footprint. When we bought the house, it said it was 854 square feet. And if any of you have seen the house or know Warren Leopold designs, the walls are concrete buttresses. They're like 6 feet thick at the base, with this concrete and stone. So the measurements for when we put new flooring in the house, they measured it at 710 square feet, and we said, "Well, whoa! I thought it was 845." I go, "What about the overage?" And they go, "Yeah, no, that's all we need. It's a tiny house." So that exterior footing is part of the thing. So what we're trying to add is a master bedroom and bath and a small room above for grandkids to visit. And it's a double lot. So what we're excited about, I mean, it's a tiny double lot, but is being able to preserve the whole front part of the ocean garden area, which is over half the distance of the lot, and then not really touch the original Leopold house other than the entrance becoming part of a hallway entrance into the two parts. So we've had Laurel Leopold here probably 3 times. She's very excited about how committed we are to preserving the original structure and the look and feel. We're not, we just love the place. It's drafty. It's a lot of things, but it's amazing, and it has those windows down, So we're hoping to live here full time, but our closet is about 8 square feet. And my wife is probably long term not going to be happy with that. And then when we've had family come stay, there's a line at the bathroom door sometimes. So we've all gotten spoiled to having more than one bathroom. So that's kind of the motivation behind the addition. But Dane, the specific question that she had about how we calculated the square footage, I assume you've looked at it, and that I think Carrie said that the county was going to be fine with the way it was done, and she didn't know if the Coastal Commission would be, but I'm not sure how that
I
works.
think that's a really good point, and I encourage us to sit down with Mr. Brown too to talk about this one.
Yeah.
Maybe after this meeting too. But
Sure.
in a nutshell, I think, and this took a few tries for Christina to convey to me, we're talking about a Coastal Commission regulation for an addition to a non-conforming structure, and it's non-conforming due to it being too close to an existing bluff. I think. Is that head shake? Yes, nod. So then we haven't received any response back from Coastal Commission as far as referrals. The same reason, this council is reviewing the project right now. So during our monthly meeting, I think we'll need to give their staff a poke. Hey, we need a referral response on this one. And maybe we can work together. I'll send you an email for a thumbs up how that's to be worded, and we'll include Mr. Brown, the architect. But the degree of nonconformity isn't getting any worse because the portion of the addition on this project is near the street rather than the bluff. So that was an overlooked issue until today, honestly, on my part, and I hadn't previously chatted with Carrie about it. So now that I understand kind of what's going on there, I look forward to finding a way forward, and getting the thoughts and opinions in written from coastal staff would be a good start, I think, there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry David couldn't make it tonight. And he's got more experience in this area. We're just homeowners hoping to make it big enough to live in. So
yeah,
but super committed to having our garden area overlooking the ocean. I think the footprint, I think we're 40 or 50 feet back from the bluff before we even have construction. So hopefully that'll be helpful.
Got it. So then, yeah, certainly as it is for, local requirements, it wouldn't be an issue, but we would, county staff would hate for a project to get that far and then be appealed, and eventually, whatever happens at a coastal level, redesign or whatnot, we would like a smooth processing all the way through. So I think that'll start with just an updated referral response in writing.
Great. And the historical, we would have had an update on that. The gentleman passed away, actually, that was going to do the updated over Christmas. So they're trying to find. We thought we had it done, and then the historical part. She had written the historical part, and then because she thought the carport was part of the original structure, and then we had that follow-on letter, but then the county said, well, we have to resubmit a new historical opinion, I guess, after getting that letter. So it was like a new thing. So, but we can work with you on that. But if anyone in the neighborhood has any questions or wants to, I was telling Christina, I'd love for you to come visit. We're so proud of the house and just,
I know. We want to come by, and
yeah.
She makes the gingerbread house, like the gingerbread Leopold structure. She did the sea chest this year at a gingerbread. Last year she did the cliff shack, which is going to be demolished. But so to that point, Dane, why, like, is the historical thing just something that's a requirement? Like, so essentially the people who are demolishing the cliff house on Sherwood, their historical person basically like shredded Leopold, talked all this mess, and the Coastal Commission was like, okay, he's not a figure. So then why does somebody like David have to jump through hoops on this historical thing? If, like, is it not like a one and done, and there's still some question as to Leopold's relevance permitting
I
wise?
think in this case, there's a historical analysis submitted by an architectural historian that was awesome for what is existing on site for the McMahon residence. It's very clear what exists. It's very clear that the existing residence represents a resource per CEQA terms that could be impacted by an addition. What I think the report was deficient in, and something I definitely ran by my management prior to including in that info hold letter, was will the, what are the nuts and bolts of the addition that may or may not impact the historical significance of the site? Are the same beams being used? Maybe that's an odd example, but from a CEQA perspective, that sort of recommendation does have to come from a qualified professional. In this case, a historical architect for the portion that is the addition. So we're definitely not looking for a full-blown, reauthored report, but at an addendum, just addressing the Appendix G CEQA items in this case, I think.
But that, Dane, if I may, that implies that you're not really worried about the historical significance of it being a Leopold house, but more the following the Department of the Interior guidelines for historic structure for the additions. Is that what you're saying? So how it's done, not the fact of it being done?
The new addition must be consistent with what has already been determined in the report as a significant resource. So
Okay.
what the existing report didn't really get into too much was what is going on with the addition in terms of CEQA requirements. But it did acknowledge the existing residence as a resource.
Well, because I mean, when you look at the architectural plans that were attached, it's pretty sensitively done. So I think if you're looking for the documentation that goes with that, is that?
I tend to agree, and especially when you see it on a paper plan set, it does have that just look to it that is consistent with the house. But that's unfortunately not something I'm qualified to say, and for CEQA processing and
No, but there's a difference between, because you willingly let the other Leopold house get knocked down.
Yeah.
And with multiple historical analysis that said it wasn't historic. And I think at the root of Christina's question is, well, what's different about this one? And by the way, we're not advocating that you come up with reasons that they shouldn't be able to do this addition. We're just,
Yeah, I'm saying like
it's more the
clearly,
consistency of how you apply the standards, and then in terms of the non-conformance issue is, are we actually following the codes that apply, and how, rather than, and if we aren't, fine, what's the remedy for that? Is it a variance? Is it some other minor exception that is built into the code? I mean, we're really not looking for reasons to shoot this down. It's about, just the purity of the process. If you're going to hang your hat on certain qualities on one case and then turn around the next one and do something completely different, well, then I don't know how the public ever understands what the standards are and how to apply them. And a question I had, though, for Mr. McMahon, you referred to it as a double lot, and that can mean a couple different things. That can mean you acquired the two lots, but they've been merged together as one for, and they were originally a double lot, because in Cambria we had lots of little small lots.
Yeah.
Or it can mean you have two lots, two separately assessed, separately conveyed lots, and we were just unclear.
Oh yeah, no. So yeah, so the history on this, which came to light after we bought it, I guess, is the Kirshner family, who was the original owner. They bought the single lot, and then they added. There was a lot next to it, small, and this house was built on the singular lot. back when there was a 3-foot setback, between
Right.
houses. And then they did add this carport covered area that kind of went over into the other lot after the second lot was bought. And I guess, Dane, I think they were merged like decades ago. It's just that, for us, it's like we're excited that it's big enough that we can do this little addition and still have wooded grass area,
Yeah.
and have it kind of hold that original feeling that it always had.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Because if you go back in time, the 3-foot standard came from the building codes originally. It was to
Mhm.
stop fires after the San Francisco earthquake. To have
Yeah,
some.
and we're challenged because the house that we love is 3-foot setback on the south side, but we're going to have to be 9 feet from the other side, which means we lose most of that tiny skinny lot. So our addition is going to be like 11 feet wide,
Mm,
and that to comply with the 9-foot setback on the other side, um, which isn't ideal. And then obviously some of the square footage we're having to use is just a hallway to connect the two houses. So we're fine. We're fine with it being a tiny house.
yeah.
It's very quaint. Would love for any of you to visit. We love it. That's
Pretty
what one of the
pretty
things when we were
special.
saying the historical part, we were going, well, do we have to do when it got designated as historical? Oh, do we have to do tours? Like, do we have to do we have to open it up twice a year for people to come through? The part that I found was unusual, and Dane, you can help me with this and understanding is the historical person who reviewed it said, well, I said, well, no, we'd like to make it look very much like the original and have, she goes, oh, no, you can't do that. It has to look very different than the original. So it can't be confused as being part of
Well, that's where that's coming from is the Department of the Interior's guidelines for historic structures.
yeah.
It's a professional debate over, do you make it sympathetic to the design and look the same, or do you make it completely different so you can determine and understand what was the original and what was the new?
And then for
And
us, it's kind of interesting. It's only going to be seen by people we invite to the house. So,
yeah,
but we want to make it all work. Our preference would be to make it look very much like the original, so it just looks like it's always been here and was meant to be that way. But David Brown has made it where it's going to be clearly delineated between the two structures. So, we can make it work either way.
Yes, it's seen and felt though. I will say, like when I had to take 9 million photos of the other Leopold house on Sherwood, every time I went down there, I wanted to cry because there were tourists like pulling up, jumping out of their cars, taking the photos, and it was just like this gem for
Yeah.
community.
Yeah, that's a cute that's even smaller than our house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Won't be soon. Deborah, you want to go ahead? And you're muted. Still.
Okay. Uh, what size are the two lots? Are they 25 footers?
Yeah, the total is about 50 wide. Yes.
Oh, okay, so you have the skinny lots.
Yes.
And I know people that I know are in houses that were not built to code and they were built all the way out to the lot line. So
Mhm.
you're sort of in the middle of that crisis as well, where you have a 3-foot setback on one side. So,
Yeah, the ones that the renovations that have gone the best is when you bought an existing house and just gutted it and kept one wall.
yeah,
And then you keep the same old setbacks, but we obviously that's not what we want to do and can't do. We don't have a big structure to begin with. So.
okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think, I can go ahead and guess that most of the NCAC agrees that Dane, and we want to find a way to like support people doing these things. It's a value to the community. It's timeless. Like I think people don't realize what happens like cumulatively as this, if people do just buy, demolish, build box, buy, demolish, build box. And so how do we do that? How do we do that, right? And if there is something off or not off, whatever, if there is something that needs to be adjusted with that modification, let's say, how do we support that in a way that's, you know, meaningful. So we can talk about that and then vote next month. And we'll just work this month in the meantime. Is that okay? And Harry, do you
good.
want to go ahead?
Thank you, Christina. I just want to make a comment. What a breath of fresh air it is to have Mr. McMahon here expressing a totally different way of being in our community and his impact upon Cambria. The other Warren Leopold House at 2675 with very little problem, you know, unanimous from the Board of Supervisors and from the Coastal Commission. Just tear that down and have it replaced by another structure that's much bigger, that's going to be a vacation rental, and the people that own it be here occasionally, versus Mr. McMahon, who he and his family are going to live here. They want to keep it the way it is and just add something to, let's say, make their ability to live here a little more comfortable. I think it's so awesome to
Thank you.
have the, like I said, to have you represent what many of us desire for this community.
Thank you. Well, we're excited to be a part of the community. Yeah, you know, it was a rental property for, I think, 3 decades, with just a 100% rental property. And we let a lot of our friends come stay here for free, just because it's a treasure for us. We like to share. But thank you for acknowledging that, and we're excited to be here.
Great.
All right, you guys, thank you. I said I wouldn't drag this conversation out, and Karen, I can tell I've dragged it out. So thank you. And then Dane, we'll connect. David, we'll figure out who's going to come down and just totally take advantage of your offer.
Yes, yeah.
The place. And yeah, okay. Well, we can all be on email. Dane, do you feel good about that? Like,
Of course, more to come. The setbacks, I think this will get exciting. I think we'll make this work definitely, hopefully, and maybe even the side setback situation could even benefit too. We'll see. I'll reach out to Mr. Brown and yourself, Mr. McMahon, and then
Thank you.
talk about this setback situation. Both the side setbacks and the bluff setback. So thank you, and I appreciate the review.
thank you guys. All right, and thank you, David. Nice to meet you.
You too, Christine. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. And then do you guys want to take a break? We have CCSD left. And then we're done. So does anybody want to do a 5-minute? No. Oh, Karen, you say something.
I can always use 5 minutes.
Okay, let's
Or
do
even
5
3.
minutes. All right, let's do. Oh, Harry has something to say. Or you want 5 minutes or your hands up? You're muted. Let me unmute. I'm asking him to unmute.
Sorry. Has Dane left?
Yeah, he just left.
Because about a minute ago, in addressing this project and various aspects to it, he said, definitely, hopefully.
Yes.
Somehow, I wish he were still here to kind of clarify how you can say definitely and hopefully right next to each other with regard to the future of this project.
Well, I think the youth haven't given up hope on life.
I think, Harry, he may be hedging because of the Coastal Commission complication.
Right.
He's definitely hopeful, Harry. That's how we all will stay after our 5-minute break. Let's go. All right, we'll be back 7:20. Let's just say 9 in case it turns the minute. Okay, bye.
I have lost my little self here on this.
Where, what, oh,
I
you want to
can't,
see
I
yourself in
can't find my little picture up on here.
the-
Not that I want to look at myself, but I've never done that before. If I pin it, then I'm the main attraction, which is boring. Okay.
All right, let's see. Do we have, oh, yeah, we do have Harry. Harry, are you ready to give your report?
Well, I guess as ready as I'll ever be. And I want to preface my report by saying that the report I'm about to give is happening 1 hour and 5 minutes earlier than it did at our last meeting.
But who's counting?
But who's counting? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to take my glasses off here. So, first off, early on in the meeting, even though the skate park wasn't on the agenda, we had a pretty meaningful discussion with regard to the status of the skate park right now, especially with regard to the restroom and what's happening with the public restroom company that's providing some information that we need before we move forward and putting the project out for bid. Um, so I think what happened was the discussion led to some better understanding of why the project itself is being held up, that it's not so much the board and the district, but it's other complications from county and federal and agencies and that type of thing. Also, the observation was made that it probably isn't going to be completed. The skate park probably isn't going to be completed until maybe early summer of 2027. I'd like to hope there's still a possibility that it'll happen by late 2026, but we'll see what happens. Um, anyway, the discussion was well received, including by supporters of the skate park, which was kind of refreshing in a way. Also, we had a public safety presentation from Matt Gill. He's from the state of California Department of Fish and Wildlife. He's a lieutenant officer. He covers a wide area throughout the state of California. And he was here to do a presentation on the feeding of wildlife, which has become a discussion and a subject of discussion. And he impressed upon us not only is it illegal to feed wildlife, but what people feed them is usually doing them more harm than good. I mean, they're used to feeding out of nature. That's what they are. And usually what it is, in fact, he pointed out the fact that there are some let's say some businesses in the county and elsewhere that actually sell deer food. And he suggested that people not buy anything from a store where you feed wildlife, and not to feed wildlife at all. They've been feeding from nature since the beginning of their existence here. That's what makes them most healthy, and what we feed them actually can affect their health and well-being. So he was basically here to tell us not to feed wildlife, not so much to remind us that it's also illegal. Just don't do it. Okay, we also had a brief discussion that was on the agenda with regard to our upcoming discussion on the district's strategic planning. Our workshop's going to be on Monday, March the 2nd, starting at 10 a.m. I just want to remind folks that it's going to be at the fire station on Burton Drive and not at the Vets Hall. We're doing some major upgrading of the Vets Hall. Some of it has already taken place with regard to the flooring And now we're going to be doing some painting in the Vets Hall. I don't know how happy we'll be with the choices that some people have made with regard to these are the colors we're going to use, but they didn't ask me. It's going to look better. So there we are. We've already had feedback from folks. We had a minor amount of feedback at our February board meeting. We've had some written feedback on the strategic plan. People are welcome to attend our meeting on March the 2nd, but any comments you're going to make have to be before we discuss strategic planning, not during the process itself. Also, one of the agenda items that we discussed was with regard to the ownership of the San Simeon Creek stream gauge station. It's been the information provided from there for a long time has been from the U.S. Geological Survey. So we voted to change that to the San Luis Obispo County Flood Control and Water Conservation District. Now, you wonder, well, what does the stream gauge station do? Well, it measures rainfall, creek flow, the height of the creek, and so forth. So the idea, if it's now going to be local, being done by the county instead of a federal agency, means we're probably going to get a more accurate report. It's going to happen maybe sooner. So this is a good thing. So we voted for that change. Also, we voted on the Santa Rosa Creek Stream Bank Repair and Enhancement Project. Anybody that's walked out Santa Rosa Creek Road, usually people park right there at the entrance to Santa Rosa Creek Road by Highway 1, right there where the creek runs under the highway. If you walk down maybe a quarter of a mile or so, and you see the serious damage that was done to the, not just to the creek, and where debris has been washed up. This is back in January of 2023, but also how much of the pathway has, or how much of the creek itself, the creek bed has washed out to where it's very close to the fence that is next to the pathway. So some major work needs to be done here to prevent further the potential for further washing out of the path and the creek itself. So we voted on that taking place. How long it's going to take is another story, and how effective it will be, we'll only know with the passage of time with regard to making all. So going to be upgrading the stream bed and clearing out so much of the debris that's there right now that is seriously compromises the quality of how the creek runs and just the visual of, as well. Okay. We also voted on, excuse me for a moment. We voted on an agreement with OpenGov for what's called an assessment management computer maintenance management system. So this is about, I think that General Manager McElhaney can probably describe this a little better, but it's basically about making an arrangement with these folks to where at least we voted on a 5-year plan that's going to cost roughly $250,000, where they're going to be providing information for us so we can have a further, do a better job of how we're addressing the needs of infrastructure, especially in water and wastewater and other areas, so we don't lose sight of things that need to be done, and they'll provide us with much greater information as to how to address our future needs in that area. So initially they're going to be doing data integration and training of our staff to do a better job as to how we can approach, like I said, let's say capital improvement projects and other items that need to be addressed in the future. As I said, I'm sure Mr. McElhaney can do a much better job of explaining it than I did, but basically the board voted, not quite unanimously, but the board voted to approve this project from OpenGov. And I think Matthew could probably provide you a little more information on OpenGov and what we discussed. And then also we talked about the community park, moving forward with the community park. We discussed design and permitting costs, phase 3 improvements and that type of thing. The potential for a restroom mural, permits that are required for pretty much all of the projects that are going to be taking place there. And we're also going to be having a visual assessment analysis letter sent to the county from SWCA. Well, I think, yeah, we voted on SWCA doing that. SWCA, that's an abbreviation for a particular company that we've been involved with for a while. So we're hoping with the passage of time that all the various projects that we will hope to take place to actually create a community park are slowly moving forward, but there's all kinds of permitting from the county, which is slowing things up. But we're feeling more hopeful, slightly more hopeful after the discussion that we had at our meeting a week ago tomorrow. So I think I hope that was a satisfactory report. And like I said, Matt will give you an upgrade on what I just provided. Anybody have any questions?
I know that Deborah and Karen have their hands up. I'm going to call on Karen first, only because I know you're probably trying to clarify something for your minutes.
Yes, Harry, are these items that were discussed at the February 12th meeting?
As I said, the first, yes, they were.
Okay.
But like I said, the skate park itself was not on the agenda.
Okay. The important part for me is the February 12th meeting.
Correct.
Thank you.
But obviously, this took place at the February 12th meeting, and what initiated the discussion of the skate park was that General Manager McElhaney had a fairly full report on the skate park in his general manager's report. And then Mr. Green, Jim Green from the Utilities Department, he also had some comments. So that's why we decided to make this one of the initial discussions that we had.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Boyd?
Deborah, you want to go ahead?
Hi, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Regarding feeding of the wild animals because I know people that are doing this and neighbors have gotten in fights about this and everything else. Is there a way to get out, like when people buy homes here that haven't lived here before, city folk, can we get out the word through the realtors, like a handout or something they put in the packet? And the second thing is maybe Christine Fox, can we get an article out in the Cambria CA online newsletter that, repetitively explains this? Because a lot of people really don't understand. They come from a city, they're all stressed out. They think it's really sweet to feed the deer. My favorite is when the skunks find out where there's free food and they take up residence underneath the person's house. So that's payback. But how can we get the word out? Because it's not getting out there to, I would say, new people to the area that really don't understand the interaction of the wildlife and the human food situation. That's all I have to say.
Well, I'm going to throw this in. I don't think it's just people that just moved here.
Yeah, I know other people are also not
They've
feeding
been
the
here a long
animals.
time that love the wildlife and think they're actually improving the quality of their life since, well, we've moved on their space. So the least we can do to make their life a little better is to give them some food. So, like I said, and I think that was discussed. We briefly discussed, well, what can the district do to provide this information that it's both illegal and harmful to feed the wildlife? There's pamphlets that are available through the California Fish and Wildlife Department. So I don't know how we're going to move forward with this, but your suggestion, and this might have even come up when we talked about it, have it at Cambria CA, and other ways that we can provide this information.
It has to be pretty graphic because you have to wake them up, like scare the pants off of them. It can't be like some little cozy article that, don't pet the squirrels. It has to say what the scientific result is of feeding them, how they can get sick, and that, their gut twist.
You guys, really fast. Deborah, you asked a question to Chris Fox, and she has her hand up. So Chris, will you weigh in? Because otherwise this might go off the rails.
Let me add one thing before Chris speaks. I think the best thing to do, if there is an article in Cambria CA, which I think would be awesome, and they need to reference the California Fish and Wildlife, and people go to their website, so to speak, where all that information is that will convince you as to why you shouldn't be feeding the wildlife because of the harm it does to their health.
Yeah, but I think you see this even with emergency preparedness. Like the problem with people is that people aren't going to go to a website to read about why they shouldn't be doing what they like doing. So we have to figure out another way. Chris, will you chime in and correct me? Have you had an article on feeding the wildlife?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we did a couple of months ago. Christine Heinrichs wrote a very good article. It was very straightforward, very scientific, as only Christine can do. But I am all for, putting another article in because it obviously needs to be said. And what we might think about doing is a sort of an all-at-once media blitz when the article comes out, just hit all the social media sites as well. I have a subscription base of about 850 in town. I don't know that everyone opens it when the reminder is sent, but people do look at social media, and I think if you just stay on top of that, as well as any other avenue for getting the word out, that would be great. And yeah, I'm absolutely happy to talk to Christine about writing another article unless somebody has a different perspective. So yeah.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, and maybe that's something, that whole media blitz maybe can be done with like state parks and a couple other people at the same time.
It's just too bad that we're not back 10 years ago when we still actually had a local newspaper where it could have been the front page article.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the truth. Okay. And thank you, Deborah, for leaning into that. So I think it's important. It's just figuring out how to do it differently, because I feel like however people have approached it has not been effective. All right. And thank you, Harry. Matthew, and I guess for one of you guys, just at some point, can you answer for me? You have the strategic planning session, that's March 2nd. I know everybody does or doesn't necessarily read all your emails. Like, can you just clarify at some point, how does the public, I feel like I ask this every year, how does the public know what this session is? How do they know how to weigh in meaningfully? How do they know, because you're asking like, what do we strategize, or what do we prioritize? But most of the public doesn't even realize that you guys kind of only deal with like water, wastewater, fire, and like parks because of Fiscalini. So I think, is there any component of education that'll go out so people can actually weigh in a way that kind of expresses how their lives, could be benefited or impacted by your priorities in your strategic plan? Okay, go ahead. That's all.
So if I'm going to try to answer that, so you're talking about an additional educational piece to let the community know what we do as a community service district?
Well, yeah, I think it's like a little weird because every year it's like, well, we have this planning session and oh, weigh in on the strategic plan, and like people don't know really. I mean, and I understand that's each individual's responsibility to understand where they live and how it operates, and we're unincorporated, you have this district, but like, is there anything that you guys are putting out that's kind of encouraging people to understand, like, hey, these are the things you can weigh in on, or this is, because otherwise I feel like the strategic planning all just comes internally. I mean, unless I'm mistaken and you guys have some outpouring of public response that I'm not aware of.
So
And
last year,
Karen's hands up, but she's frowning, so she doesn't like what I'm saying. Go, jump in,
No,
Karen.
it isn't that I don't like what you're saying. It's that the point you made at the beginning is, I think, the salient point, which is people who live here need to inform themselves. And this is an exaggeration. I get 15 emails a day from Matt about the CCSD wanting public comment on their strategic planning session. So all you have to do is get on the mailing list for the CCSD. And I have actually followed this, and it's very simple. It walks you exactly through how to do this. So I thank you for calling on me, because I wanted to say that the CCSD has done just a ton of stuff and is still doing it to get the word out about this. I don't know what else you can do.
I know.
Uh,
Well,
you have to,
I know, and Karen, you and I talk about this even from an NCAC perspective, like how do you make it bite-sized so somebody will, not just give up and stop reading. But I don't think I think everybody's trying, but then nobody's really gotten to an effective place of
well,
delivering.
maybe one thing to do is however many houses turn over ownership in a year, but they have to re-enlist in to get their water and other services. So maybe you send them something that this is what your community service district does. We're not a city. Because people are coming mostly from the cities and they're used to that all being just a foregone conclusion that there's a city council and a city staff and that they take care of everything. And so, expecting them to be enlightened about that at the get-go, they weren't when they were in the cities. They just took it for granted.
I don't
So
expect them to be enlightened. I expect them to inform themselves. Good grief, if
but
you're going to move here, it's not Los Angeles. And people have a responsibility, don't they?
well, yeah, but
And if they
does that
don't,
mean
too
that
damn bad.
Matthew, take
it's
it.
all yours, Matthew?
well, thanks for that
Yeah, follow
introduction.
that.
Oh, someone's going to grab me with a big old hook and pull me off stage. Um, so trying to circle back. So we did do a community service district 101, Gmail or GM blast where we explained, what a special district is. And I think we could redo that again and then plead for more public input. Last year was one of our major updates, and we basically configured it to here is our major updates. We did a SWOT analysis, and basically we asked a ton of questions of the community on all the things that they wanted to see, and we got a ton of feedback. This year, as a part of our strategic planning process, it's a minor update. So what the ad hoc decided to do is just ask three simple questions, and I don't have them in front of me, but it was three simple questions, which is basically how are we doing? And so because of the way this change occurred, we haven't received a lot of public input, and we're hoping to get more on March 2nd. I can definitely send out another GM blast stating, This is what we are as a community service district. This is why it's important for your input. We don't have any major strategic goal updates. We're kind of updating our progress on them and updating the supporting actions to achieve those goals. Because what we're trying to do is set 5-year goals. Because as a district, there's so many things we need to do. And in terms of how quickly government works, which is a lot of the things that we get blasted for, is we move slowly. There's, as you can tell with a lot of your permitting processes, even at the minor use level, coastal development permit level, these projects take a long time to move. So we've moved to a 5-year strategic plan instead of a 3-year. And so this year we're just updating on that 5-year goal of those different projects. But I definitely can put something out to say, hey, this is what the district is again. This is what we do. Here's the link to provide the input. But it's hard for outreach. We've got social media, and as Karen noted, sign up for the email list. Short of sending out things in the water bills, which becomes very expensive when we talk about printing for 6,000, you know, uh, addresses, let's say, very expensive. So we're looking at that. And so I hear you. We're trying to get the input in there. And I do believe there's a lot of people that don't understand what we do and what we don't do. And we're trying to encourage that feedback. So I'll take that into consideration and see if I can get some more outreach going as far as the strategic plan goes. As far as public input, it can be taken now as we speak through the CCSD website. And then the day of the meeting, March 2nd, there is a public comment period in which the community can show up and actually give public comment. And I think that will be, we'll see more public comment there. But this go around, it is a little bit light. Circling back to President Farmer's comments, the board decided to bring back for agenda item on March 12th was adopting consideration and discussion and consideration to adopt the community park plan and discussion and consideration to authorize a budget adjustment for the design and permitting of the community park. So we'll see what happens on the 12th. OpenGov is an asset management tool, which is going to take a look at all of our district assets, the long range financial forecasting, all the things that we do daily, and how we need to plan in the future for some of our degrading assets, which we have never done. We basically have staff with historical knowledge and internal checklists on when to check on some of our district infrastructure. And if you're familiar with our district at all, it's falling apart around us from delayed maintenance. And so part of this asset management tool is going to be able to give us long range forecasting on what we need to do to keep this district up and running. And we've got some severely aging critical infrastructure that hasn't been addressed or it hasn't even been identified yet. So it's a tool that's going to help us move forward and be more proactive about how we deal with that. Skate park. The skate park, unfortunately, has had delays as it has for quite a while because we're in an unincorporated community who doesn't have land use authority and is subject to the county's permitting wishes. And so because that site is within a 100-year floodplain and it has to have a restroom per the county because it's classified as an amusement park per the code, it has to have a restroom. The easiest way to get a restroom in there and get past permitting is a pre-manufactured restroom. When we submitted that pre-manufactured restroom, they wanted specific engineering calculations to ensure that that restroom would withstand the 100-year floodplain and not float down Main Street, when we hit some of these major floods. Our district contracted engineer did those calculations, and a county engineer said, I don't want yours, I want the restroom companies. Well, this is a very busy restroom company who's doing restrooms all over the United States. And in order to get them to do those calculations, we had to pay them a fee, about $6,000, $7,000. And we're in the queue to get those calculations done. And we're beholden to them to get those engineering calculations done because that's all the county wants to see. And they're delayed. They told us 120 days, then it was a 2 to 3 weeks after that. And then on my most recent conversations with them is they're anywhere between 5 to 8 weeks out from getting those calculations done and analyzed by their internal team. We take those calculations, we do a resubmittal to county. County is going to take 3 to 4 weeks to do those. All of this has to be done before we go out to RFP, which will give us the final cost of the skate park. So these are unfortunate delays of being unincorporated. And that's just kind of where we are. And we're trying to provide updates as we can, but it's no fault of the district. We are beholden to the county and their processes. That's all renovations. Going really well. If anybody has seen, we were able to get our floors resanded, refinished, and our VCT floors, which are kind of like the entryway floors, which look like linoleum, but they're some version of a plastic. Those are all refinished, and that's thanks to some money from the tourism board, about $60,000. And then we are going to paint the inside of the Vets Hall. And so we took a concerted effort from a staff level to gain some community input into that. One of them is Chairwoman Galloway, who has a long history of interior design, along with Vice President Dean, who has a history of interior design, and Deborah Scott, one of our directors. You would not want me picking this paint scheme. I can tell you that. It would be Chicago Bears or Chicago Bulls or some posters on the wall. So we took a concerted effort to bring them in on this. And then Christina has been knocking on my door since I came in this district, and she's been looking to do these renovations for years at the Vets Hall. And so they have my full faith. We've picked out some pretty good colors, and they're kind of patriotic in that sense, and they've been vetted through two of our directors. So I'm really excited about the fresh new look that the Vets Hall is going to have. We have an upgraded sound system coming in. There's a lot of good things that are coming out of this, and that Vets Hall is going to look significantly different. And we haven't had the funds to do this. And so Christina's been working with myself and some of the other 501c3 groups in the community to start working towards bringing in some money to this community center, which is your community center. And our facilities and resources department and general fund is not built to do these kind of renovations, just based on the strains that we have on the general fund, whether it's support for the ranch or the skate park or the community park, and now our veterans hall. We can't do it all. Our revenue stream is so limited from the general fund. And so thanks to Christina and her ability to tap the community and get as she would say, the vibe of the community, she's been a great asset. And not only that, from her professional experience, she's been able to pull me away from trying to do my own design in the Vets Hall in terms of a man cave. But no, in all seriousness, she's done a great job, and she's tapped the community, and she's got a lot of those 501c3s that are really invested, and because of her efforts and some of the efforts that are going on between this team, we have 501c3s that are still willing to give more money to the Vets Hall because we're doing these things, like a renovated kitchen, upgraded bathrooms. So this is just a stepping stone to get us to move forward, and we vetted it pretty well. And so I think you'll be pleasantly surprised when it's all said and done. So with that, I'm open to any questions, and I apologize if I was long-winded.
No, thank you, Matthew, and thank you for being yeah, like a glazing, as the youth would say, hyping up. But I think to what you shared, wait, Karen, do you want to go? Because I know you have a question for the minutes, probably.
Yeah, Harry mentioned this, and so did Matt. This, I'm not sure whether it's a website or an organization. Is it OpenGov, G-O-V?
Yes.
And is it a website or an organization or what?
It's a private firm that helps. They're basically a professional services team that will come in and help. They help districts all over the state and country with these types of things.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Thank you.
And then make sure you capture in the minutes that Christina said I was glazing. That's something that you would want to capture.
The term that the kids are using. Dane's probably using it.
Wait, he was wait. Glazing?
Yeah, it's like hyping somebody up, like making them feel good about them.
There's some stuff I don't need to know.
Oh, I will say, Harry's not glazing.
No, I thought glazing is something you do on a donut. No,
Yes, yes.
by the way, I just want to comment on what Matt said. This company, OpenGov, he mentioned districts. They consult with various companies like you said, all over the country, and they vary from, let's say, some of them are rather small, like a district of our size, but most of the uh, companies that they work with have 1,000 to 5,000 employees. I also want to comment, they've been around about 15 years, and right now they're not on the stock exchange, but their value is, their worth, I should say, is considered right now at $1.7 billion. So they've been really busy.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Harry, for the context.
You know what? OpenGov is a good thing to do. And the one thing I would suggest, Matt, is you can't. So it's good to go to a 5-year rolling analysis of your goals and all, because it helps, not only helps you plan financially, but it also helps the board to stay on some kind of track and to revisit it and see if anybody's had a change of heart or some other factors entered into the picture, whether it's financial or political or otherwise. But I think you have to recognize and bring along the community in each increment each year, because you can't assume that people know what's going on. They just don't. And whether it's good or bad, that's the way it is. And so if you really want their participation, you have to really continue every year to seek it out. And I've told Christina, she's been frustrated at times about, well, how do we get the word out? Well, I would have told you 20 years ago, let's have a bunch of public workshops and invite everybody to coffee and donuts and have a chat. Well, today it's all social media. So the work Karen's done on putting it on Nextdoor, and that it doesn't have to be scientifically correct. It's just to actually get people's input, and so that you're not doing it in a vacuum. And I know you're trying, but I don't think you can assume that you can just kind of drop in every couple 3 years and see what people think.
No, that's a good point, but we do it every year. So we do these minor
Yeah.
updates every year, and we keep putting in whether it's Nextdoor, Facebook, Instagram, and
Yeah.
the email blast. We're always looking for the input.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, you just have to keep at that. And
Yeah.
but I really think most of the input today, I mean, is coming through social media and through internet based things, so people don't have to leave their house. But then you got to figure out, okay, well, how do we call their attention to it? Do we pay for ad space on Facebook, or how do we make sure it gets in front of as many people as possible? And strategize a little bit about that, because there's so many different platforms that people choose to make their media decisions from.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point.
But
And I forgot.
Oh, do you want to go ahead? Sorry.
I forgot to add the water reclamation facility is going for the Planning Commission on February 26th. We've got preliminary support for approval for that coastal development permit. And I've met with 3 planning commissioners and a 4th on Friday, and we're gaining steam on that. So if anybody is interested in attending the planning commission meeting, starts at 9 a.m. on February 26th. We're one of the last agenda items, and that's going to be a long day. But they do stream it on Granicus, which is a platform that hosts a lot of agendas. And then they do stream it on AGP, like Slow Span, I think. So we're moving forward on that as well. Side notes.
On your restroom issue, has it been driven up to the higher levels of the county administration to get it to move? Because I'm sure if it was the supervisor's project, it wouldn't be bounced around over and over and over again without
Yeah,
somebody cutting it off.
we pushed it as far as we could go, but there's an engineer and FEMA. So basically FEMA stepped in on this one asking for it, and the engineer basically won't let it go past them because of those calculations and the FEMA requirement. So we're still working on it, but we have hit an absolute roadblock without giving them those exact calculations from the company.
So you've talked to the congressman's office about the FEMA issue, and you've talked to the chief administrative officer of the county about the inability to move a simple project forward.
I have talked to some of the higher ups at county. I have not gone to the congressman level about the restroom. I typically pull out that big gun for some of our bigger projects. But I can take that in consideration and lean on them from that aspect. But yeah, they are, for whatever reason, the FEMA aspect and the flood zone. And again, a lot of these issues are because of the location of the skate park. It's in literally one of the worst locations we can have it in terms of regulatory compliance. And
Oh,
so
I don't disagree with that, but I also think that the county has done really little. They put in a pump, for God's sakes, to tame Santa Rosa Creek.
right.
How's that an adequate flood control measure? I mean, my parents were here in the 90s when the commercial buildings were 12 feet underwater,
Right.
and,
Yeah.
and all the shops were ruined and all that. And their answer was to put a sump pump, basically.
But I think, Jeff, like what the point that you're making right now speaks to people not being educated about where we are and people clinging to single issues and not understanding what a district does. So
Yeah,
if you're
absolutely.
thinking about the issue as a whole, then you're understanding the location, you're understanding the lack of infrastructure investment into something like that in a floodplain, and then you're looking at the issue from a bird's eye view as opposed to just saying like, well, why doesn't FEMA just let us put a restroom in a floodplain in a coastal zone on Main Street next to a creek with protected species? So I think that there's a level of education that's not happening, and unfortunately, it gets exacerbated by holdups on permits like this, and then people don't move past the point of just clinging to it as a single issue and say like, well, what can we do to go rally together and advocate the county to, like we're talking, what will be on the agenda next month, like a Main Street corridor study. And does that include something with flood control? And so I think, and the reason I wasn't even raising the point to be a hater in terms of like your strategic planning session, I was actually raising the point because I sit in these meetings where we're talking about raising money for various, the Vets Hall is a perfect example. It might be something that CCSD owned. And I hear time and time again, well, they need to show us that they can do something. And then time and time again, I'm like, well, does your water come out? Like, is your toilet flushing? Does the fire department show up? Like that, there are certain things that are what the CCSD does and actually has managed to do very well, including not going bankrupt like other districts, like Los Osos, like San Simeon. And so I just think we need to level set across the board so people are more aware of what your district does, not necessarily just so they can weigh in on your strategic plan, but so that when it does come time to fundraise or things of that nature, people understand you guys are actually doing a decent job. Like, if not, I won't glaze because
You're glazing.
but so that's whatever. I'll get off the soapbox, but it's really irritating to live in a district that is managed this well as a special district and to not have people understand like that you are actually fulfilling your responsibility. And I won't get into Parks and Rec because I am a
No,
cat. We'll go there another time. But
I understand that. I guess, though, we shouldn't be surprised if the public doesn't have confidence in what we're doing when we let a restroom hold up a skate park for 3 years.
But,
And
but,
that's,
the public doesn't have confidence in what we're doing in California in a coastal zone, in a floodplain. We're a special district that primarily only does Parks Rec and open space because of Fiscalini Ranch Preserve hasn't like strong-armed Panetta into getting FEMA to do what? Like, I can't, I don't know. I can't get on board with that argument. I
well,
think it's
but the surprise,
unrealistic. I'm a cat, so I'm sitting on the advisory council for Parks and Rec open space master plan for San Luis Obispo County, and there are special districts and communities in San Luis Obispo County that don't even have one park. I don't even know if it's Preston or Shandon, who literally their open space is a pool that somebody like donated and that the community takes care of as a sort of pride of space. And so I think we need to be realistic in terms of what we're expecting of our district outside of these primary functions. And so I just, and Jeff and I will argue about this over the phone, but
I guess what I'm saying, is we shouldn't, at the point at which we start losing the confidence of the community, that's when we shouldn't be too concerned about whether we're using the wrong issue to get support from congressmen or supervisors or
But
whatever.
if
I
you're
mean,
support
it's
from the community because they don't understand what you actually do, then that's a concern.
right. But what they want, the only thing that's going to convince them is to see action, something actually built.
But I see action every day. I see our water at Stewart Street being redone after years of being held up. I see the water reclamation facility being moved forward after what decades? How many $1 million, Harry? Like, so we're talking about seeing something be done, and I don't understand how anybody can seriously say that about the district right now.
I'm not, for sure, I'm not being critical of the effort. I'm just saying
but it's not the effort.
You can't leave any stone unturned if you're gonna say you're trying your best to get it to move. Because any less than that, the public just loses confidence in what everyone's trying to do.
I think that's a good point. I do think that this is being reduced to a restroom issue when this has been a funding issue all the way up until, I don't know, 6 months ago, and to where we reached the funding target amount.
Yeah.
So this has been a funding issue. So when you say 3 to 4 to 5 years that it's taken to get this built, that's all been a funding issue. Up until recently, it's been the bathroom being a permitting issue just to get to RFP to figure out how much this is going to cost, and we still don't know how much it's going to cost. So I think that's really the crux of it, is now we had a funding issue for so long. We finally got to move some of the pieces forward in terms of permitting, and then we got thrown a county wrench. And so now we're working through that wrench, while we addressed what we think is some of the funding issues, and we're going to try and push as hard as we can.
That county wrench is one of poor administration.
Oh, I agree. We've had
and that's what you need to take it on as, not as a failing to provide information, or it's not moving because it's sitting, just like my remodel permit for my house took 6 months because it was sitting in somebody's pile, waiting for them to get around to it. Not because it was a complicated project or a complicated decision.
Really quick, Lisa Murphy will you try? No, you were going to, but now it's scary. Is it scary?
I will just comment on my background. I was on the board of Tuolumne Utilities District, which is a special district up in the Sonora area. And I just want to give support to Matthew for what you're talking about. You do need to pick your battles, I think. I understand the skate park is important to a lot of people, but the primary function of this special district is not getting a bathroom at the skate park. That is a piece of things that they're doing, but that is not the primary function. And the primary function for this district, from what I understand, is water and sewer, right? And then on top of that is recreation. But I would
This is not complicated. Like the FEMA piece of it,
I'm
a,
just
co-
I'm
a
just gonna
congressman, a
step off
congressman's
of,
Will you
aide.
let Lisa finish
yeah,
really
I'm just
quick?
gonna step off of it, but that's just my
No.
2 cents is like, Matthew, I hear you and I understand the difficulties of getting things done. And when you're not the one holding it up. The county is holding it up.
No, I
And it
appreciate that.
sounds like you guys are doing what you can to move through the process that the county is requiring. And Jeff, I hear that what you're saying about the county process, and that it's a frustrating thing across the board on not just with this restroom issue. But I feel like 20 minutes of this conversation, I was not going to talk because I feel like we're sort of beating a dead horse on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
To-
just follow up. I'll just follow up on that. Like she kind of nailed it in the terms of a district priorities, and that can be controversial with me even saying this, but our priorities are public safety and public health, which is water, wastewater, and fire protection services. And we're paying really hard attention to this. But this isn't the only project we've ever experienced this with. I mean, the water reclamation facility, the Stewart Street tanks, all of our utilities projects. We've had permitting issues from here until high water. It's just one of those things where this is the battle that we deal with the county. And I'm not deaf to what you're saying, Jeff. Like I get it. There's some dysfunction at the county level, and we battle it all the time. And we'll continue to battle this one, but we seem to be running into some real obstacles, and we'll keep fighting. And I'm taking it to what you're saying into consideration in terms of trying to take it higher and higher. But I think there's certain stop gaps with FEMA and these floodplains and these calculations that they're just not willing to budge on.
Yeah, I guess maybe what stirred me up was I don't think you have to, yes, you have to pick your battles and how much energy you apply to them. But I don't think there's any harm in calling the congressman's aide and saying, hey, do you have a contact at FEMA that can help us navigate this? You don't necessarily, you don't need the congressman calling the White House to do it for God's sakes. But
Yeah.
there are an awful lot of ways. And if you're not talking to the county administrative officer, or that person is so hands off of the county departments that they can't push ahead a simple little project, then that is the issue, and it needs to be the thing that everyone works to solve. Not, it's not your failing. It's the county process that's really slowing it all down.
Yeah. And I think some of your own applicants that have come before NCAC on a lot of their minor use permits feel the same way. So no, you're right. And I'll
And
keep
they're getting slowed down by staff not always knowing what they're doing, really. I
yeah.
mean, they're not reading the codes, they're not following their own process. And like you saw with the Leopold houses, one gets allowed to be demolished with open arms, and the other one, they can't make up their mind what the process is.
No, yeah, you got it. You nailed it.
All right, so you guys, I know we may have just gone too far on that, and thank you, Lisa, for making us aware. This conversation has gone on. Jeff, if you want to connect with Matthew and maybe, go show up at the congressman's office, I encourage you to do so. And
It's a simple call. I mean, if the politics are operating correctly, it shouldn't be that hard.
Well, have at it. And yeah, I think that we are good because Kermit is at a concert. Karen, did you have anything you wanted to throw at us or no?
No, except that I forgot to tell you that I was not going to have an outreach report.
Okay, perfect. I was like, okay, yeah, no, we're good there. And yeah, I gave our notes to Slow Cog and to
Oh, and Cecilia's not here, obviously, so there's no update there. Okay.
no update there, but we did kind of get a little bit of an ambulance report from
Yes, yes, yes.
And then yeah, and we got the notes out on Burton Drive Path. So I think we are good. And then next month we'll probably be talking about some Main Street corridor study. So we'll see what we kind of put together there. And then I will likely annoy you guys between now and then just about this Leopold House as Dane kind of gets some things together. And I appreciate you guys, and I want to say for the record that I'm obsessed with Jeff Bloom, and we argue like this even over the phone. So
I'm actually on your side.
Yeah.
As Matt knows, and I've done this for a long time. So I just think
I know, and Jeff is always ends up being right. So there's that.
It's weighted down by incompetence is what it is.
No, I appreciate Jeff, and I lean on Jeff because of his experience, and we've had some good conversations. So,
and it's not the CCSD staff that's the problem at this point.
All right, Deborah, you want us? Your hands up. Are you sending us off?
Karen, I want that in the minutes, Karen. That it's not the CCSD staff's fault.
I'm gonna put that in all caps. It's not the CCSD's fault.
There's been more progress in the last 3 or 4 years than I've seen in the, I don't know, 40 I've been watching Cambria and coming here.
That means
Deborah's
a lot.
hand is up, Jeff. Deborah's hand is up.
Let a woman go. Deborah, go ahead.
We were talking about communication in the CCSD, and just within the last day or two, Matthew, you sent out a notification about the tanks, and I thought it was short and sweet, and it gave enough information that if anybody was ill-informed, they would have been very well educated, and I guess that's called glazing, right? So I wanted to thank you for that because it stuck to one subject and it was perfect. That's all. Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you so much.
I'm lowering my hand.
Okay, Deborah glazing, Karen, that's for the minutes too. That's how we end tonight. All right, you guys, does everybody feel heard? Harry?
Please, God, yes.
Give us a smile.
The end.
The end. All right, we'll see you guys next month, and I'll see you over email and on the phone.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.